All right, everybody, how you doing? It is Saturday in Bremerton. Man, it is a beautiful day in Bremerton. Boy, the year is going pretty fast. It is the 31st of July. This month is done and in the books. Boy, it's pretty quick. Let me make sure I'm looking good here. I'm 5 by 5. How's everybody doing out there today? Hopefully you are doing well. Man, we got a crazy show today. Let's see, are we doing good? We coming through? Oh yeah, we coming through. All right, we 5 by 5. Welcome. We'll let a few people come in to the chat, come into the show, see how everything is going. We're gonna kind of pick up where we left off with our conversation. I think all this stuff kind of goes together. We've been talking about homelessness and shelters and levies and bonds and all kinds of different things. And, I think all this stuff correlates. And we're going to get into it today. And today we're going to get into drugs and its impact on Bremerton. We look at Bremerton, especially for a lot of folks that have grown up here, just looking at Facebook, and a lot of people that have moved away or have come to visit that haven't been here in many years have noticed that Bremerton looks very different than what it looked like years ago. And it doesn't look like the Bremerton that they remember. And it's pretty sad for them. Yeah, it's disappointing. And it's like, man, what happened? It used to be a place that you can come and enjoy. Used to be a lot safer. Now, we had West Park and, we had, what was the bar downtown back in the day that everyone used to hang out at? We had a few of them down there. El Camino. What was the one downtown that everyone used to hang out at? I mean, it was way back, right? I can't recall it now, but it used to be the spot where everyone used to hang out. So, I mean, Bremerton has always had some of its issues, but it just seems like right now things are not too great, right? And it's pretty bad, especially on that stretch of ML King, and the surrounding blocks are definitely pretty hot. But it's not just there; it's really all throughout Bremerton and Kitsap County has gotten pretty bad, and it's just not the same as it used to be. And we look at Seattle, we look at California, we look at Oregon. I mean, you don't have to go far. And this isn't unique to Bremerton. This isn't unique to Kitsap County. This isn't unique to King County or Pierce. This is a nationwide issue. To me, this was an exercise in trying to let people do what they do. You know, just kind of mind your business and let people live. Um, and I think it got out of hand. And I knew, to me, in my opinion, that this was going to go to a point where they were going to have to recriminalize um, these drugs, and addiction was going to get out of hand. And here we are, right? And so now we have this issue, and there's not enough money and support now to deal with the addiction that we find ourselves in. And now we've got this huge problem, right? And so we created this issue, and now we don't have enough support in place. And these drugs now, I mean, we thought crack was bad, in the 80s and 90s. This fentanyl and this meth is something else. And if you test the meth, there's fentanyl in the meth. And these drugs are just something else, right? Even the marijuana, you've got synthetic marijuana and you've got all these different strains. The drugs today are really something else. The addiction, we had the fire chief on, shout out to the fire chief, talking about Narcaning people 3 and 4 times. These drugs are something else. And it is taking folks, if if at all, 4 and 5 and 6 times in treatment and multiple relapses in order to get to a point of sustained recovery, if they're able to do that. Folks are dying multiple times, and it's tragic, right? It's heartbreaking and really unnecessary, and we have to do something about it. We can't do anything and expect the problem to change on its own. We can't allow people to continue to die. Um, that's benign neglect, right? And that's a terrible approach to things. It's just allowing folks season after season, winter after winter, um, to die, to be unhoused, to be on the street, um, to OD, to sell their bodies, to steal, to do all manner of things to get meth and fentanyl or whatever their drug of choice is, to sustain their addiction and to do whatever it is they have to do, and then brave the elements and just continue to go through that cycle, and then go through the 90-degree weather, uh, and just stay in addiction, right? So what do? Some people just say, hey, just let folks just live their life and do what they do. The problem is drugs aren't free. So where do they get the money? They have to get the money somewhere. So do they qualify for disability? Do they have mental health issues? Do they have physical limitations? And so the state is giving them a disability check. And with that, they're able to buy drugs and sustain their drug habit that way. And these are answers I don't know. I'm just putting these things out there and trying to frame these things. And if you have thoughts, or if you know the answers to these things, please put them in the chat, because I think that helps to frame our knowledge and understanding, and hopefully get us to a point of getting to hopefully solutions. One of the things that we don't do is we don't have dialogue. We have city council meetings, we have other meetings, we have town halls, and people come and have conversations. Sometimes we yell at each other to say, no, we don't want this, and no, we don't want that, but we don't typically come up with solutions. Sometimes we say we should do this or we should do that, but then it's, well, we need money. And where does this money come from? And what does this look like? Can we do a pilot program? Should we do a shelter? What does it look like? If we do a shelter and we, get folks off the street, will that help us to identify those that are preying on people that are in addiction, that if they had a place to stay, we can easily identify the wolves, the ones that are selling to folks, and that we can get those folks off the street and allow folks to have that respite and to get an opportunity to get clean and get stabilized and get their life back on track. And then, kind of go from there. For those that are working, because you have that, right? You have functional and working alcoholics. You have functional and working meth addicts. You have functional and working fentanyl addicts, right? And everything in between, right? Folks that are on pills. You have these things. So for those folks, what do you do there that are working and able to maintain kind of this facade of kind of the everyday citizen that is going to work and, taking their kids to sports and to school and paying their taxes and paying their rent or paying their mortgage, and everything seems fine. And they're able to maintain and juggle those things, and they're doing it behind closed doors. What do we do? What is the answer there? So do we just let that go? Or do we do the nuclear option? And, you hear people say, hey, these people can't die fast enough. If they want to kill themselves, let it happen. I think Trump was talking about put them on an island. let's just put them all on an island, let them do what they want to do. I think he was advocating for, you could drop supplies off to them like in a helicopter and just let it kind of be Lord of the Flies, right? And, if they die, they die, and let it be that way. In some ways, it almost seems that's how it is now to some degree, right? And we have so many deaths that happen right here on our streets and throughout the nation. And we still spend millions and billions of dollars, per year toward homelessness and toward addiction, and even toward prevention. But we don't seem to be really putting a dent in it, right? And so do we do the nuclear option? And do we put everyone in jail, for extended amounts of time? Do we give people, crack sentences like they did in the 80s to the Black community? And destroy families and communities, for life, and do it that way? Would that be a way to do it? Or do we try to do something in the middle? Because that didn't really seem to work, right? It really kind of destroyed the Black community in a lot of ways. Harm reduction. People are definitely split on harm reduction and what that looks like. Some people, there are studies that says that harm reduction is the way to go, and that you are trying to reduce the harm. And by doing that, over time, that person will come to a point where they do want to become clean and sober, and they will come to that resolution on their own, and it's more likely to take and stick. And I have seen that, right? I know that works. It doesn't work for everyone, but I have seen it. I've seen it where folks have gone to jail, right? That choice has been taken from them. And from that, they've actually become, have found sobriety, and they have found recovery through that. Their choice being taken from them. They didn't come to it on their own. So there are different ways to come to it. So there is no one way. There's no one way to get there. However, we're going to have to do something, right? This thing is way out of hand. And unfortunately, the longer that people are in this state and they are unhoused, we know that more and more people are going to fall and succumb to addiction of one sort or the other, the more that they stay unhoused out there, right? Because there are people that are preying on them, and being out there in those elements it's demoralizing, right? It's cold, it's painful, mentally and physically. Folks are dealing with a whole host of ailments. You are, wherever you're at watching this, whatever your situation is, do you have any kind of physical ailment, right? Do you have more than one? Or do you have comorbidities, that you're facing? I'll call a few out. Are you suffering from fibromyalgia or cancer or something else that is painful? Are you suffering from mental health? Are you self-medicating through marijuana or through, a glass of wine or two in the evening or during the day? Are you on prescription medication that helps to get you through the day through pain management? Are you on, mood stabilizers that are prescribed by a doctor that helps you through? Are you using, things like a TENS unit or any kind of, water therapy or acupuncture? I was going to say massage therapy, right? Which is expensive. So all of a sudden, if you can't afford those things, what happens if you find yourself homeless and you can't take advantage of those things that you were able to use before? And maybe you're sleeping in a car and you're cramped and your body is hurting, and that is extended, right? You say, okay, well, you go to work and you just work your ass off and you figure it out. And you lean on your friends and your family and this and that, but that's assuming that you have all those things, right? And so I'm painting a scenario, but more and more people are falling by the wayside, and that is more people's situation than not. One, we're not in a collective society. We're in an individualistic society, right? We do not really rally around family the way that we used to, right? So, hey there, Brett. I thought there was a federal law that passed that prioritized people going to recovery, specifically homeless people who wanted to quit and go to recovery. The problem with that still is that where they go when they get out of recovery. This was a federal motion put into action so that people on Medicare and federal support could have a treatment, drug, alcohol treatment at a living facility and afterward paid for. Yet, where do they go when they get out? So we are in like a catch-22 sort of conundrum. You would think people would jump on this starting new facilities for drug rehab since it is now being federally funded. This would at least give them a chance and rehab. When I worked at, sorry for being so choppy there, at a Lala Recovery Center, many patients coming through needed help finding resources and paperwork and continued the process. So when they left the facility, they had a place to go. This also brings up housing and drug-free housing. So if we cannot stay here, say here's a small studio apartment, yet you have to volunteer, participate in society, and take a drug and alcohol test in UA or a blood test, whatever, at period times to show that you're not just going to be in a house and isolate and have all your friends come over and have a trap house, and we have to allow them to have their freedom, then essentially this is what we're doing. We're saying they should just be put somewhere and allowed to have their freedom. Yeah, you're absolutely right with that, Brent. So for people that don't know, I run a nonprofit called Gather Together, Grow Together. And so we run a transportation company. And so we actually do transportation to these treatment facilities all over the county. So we take folks to Olalo, we take folks to Spokane, to Yakima. We're here in Kitsap County. So we get a call and someone is ready to tap out and there's a bed open in Spokane. That 5-hour trip, that bed is open, we're getting them there, right? And that is an issue, right? So 28 days later or however long that stay is, it's time to go and pick them up and bring them back. The question is where do they go, right? Was there a space secured for them on the other side of that 28 days where they are going to be safe and not released back into the element where they are going to not be successful, right? Is there a job in place? Are they going to go into clean and sober living? What is their ecosystem like? Are they going back into that? There's so many questions there, and there's not a lot of resources on that side. So you're absolutely right. And I mean, you called it, right? I'm going to get into that a little bit later when we talk about, trap houses. And then that's a big one, right? Because you have, a lot of folks that have big hearts and want folks to be safe and not be in the elements. And you've got 20 people in a house that are doing drugs, right? And, they don't want them to be out there. They don't want them to be arrested. But unfortunately, they're just staying in it. They're just staying in the addiction. And so now they've gone to treatment, but there's not a lot of options. And there they go, they're stuck. And so then it's just kind of this revolving door. We do need more. I've heard everything from we don't need any more beds. Kitsap doesn't need a treatment facility. Talking to a lot of different people, being part of the continuum of care in recovery. I've heard it all, right? We can't have enough beds. Kitsap doesn't need any beds. There's no money on the other side for, clean and sober living. What do you do? Should people relocate? We do need more clean and sober living homes. Should people still be required to UA after? what is the balance from you being able to have some autonomy, right? Because I mean, you're still a sovereign citizen, right? You still have the right to live and live your life how you want to live your life. Uh, just to read the last part of your statement here, you know, what period of time to show that you're not just going to be in a house and isolate and have all your friends come over and have a trap house, and we just allow them to have their freedom. And essentially, this is what we're saying. They should just put them somewhere and be allowed to have their freedom. Yeah, this is a big issue. This is a huge issue, which is that other side piece of it. What do we do there? And there's no money, right? There is no money, according to a lot of people. They've used a lot of money. They have wasted millions and billions of dollars. You've probably watched, if you've been watching the news, especially in Seattle, there's been a bunch of money that has been giving out to the homeless and for addiction that has gone unaccounted for, or they kind of know where the money went, but they have nothing to show for it. So just really a misuse of funds, which is very problematic. And you look at some of the groups like Rock the Block and what they have done with little of nothing. And it's like, there's some people that can do things with very little, and then other organizations need millions of dollars to do the same, if not marginally more, right? So it's like, okay, now, what does it really take? So that's a really, really, really good question. And I think it might really, what would be helpful is to really document the process of someone going into recovery and coming out, and just really talking about and showing what that process looks like from A to Z, and showing where the gaps are and where the bottlenecks are, and trying to address it from there. And just showing how many numbers are actually on that other side, right? Because there's so many things that we're looking at. We have folks that, depending on how long they've been in their addiction, right? What were their, what's their job history? What's their work history? What's their education history? What's their rental history? All of those things you have to take into account. Are they able to live in a space? There was a time before I got into this work where I didn't realize that people had to be taught how to live and manage a household. Those are things that I took for granted because I just learned that as a teenager, right? And so if you weren't domesticated in that way, you kind of just take that for granted, right? Yeah, I didn't learn that. I didn't go on vacation in the summertime. We couldn't afford that. But if you're someone that always went on vacation and got on planes, then that's second nature to you, right? It's like, oh man, we always went on vacation. I get on planes all the time. It's this old hat. You get on, you take off your belt and your shoes, and you go through here and you do this and you do that, and everything's just so easy and blah, blah, blah. And for someone else, it's like, man, I have no idea what I'm doing, right? So it's just about your domestication. What was your experience? And so for other people, that's very overwhelming, and they're not going to be successful if you put them in that situation. It is too much for them to take on and then take on everything else, right? And so you want them to try to maintain their household. You want them to try to maintain a work schedule. You want them to try to maintain their own personal schedule. You want them to do all the other things that you're asking them to do. Don't miss their appointments. Don't miss their their intensive outpatient. You don't want them to miss their UAs. You don't want them to miss their drug court appointments or whatever else they have going on. They're trying to go to school. They're trying to, go to their anger management courses, or they're trying to go to their courses to, try to get their kids back in their lives. Whatever they're trying to do, they're trying to hold down 2 jobs. They're trying to work on a certification, right? They're trying to reestablish their lives. They're trying to get to a point where they can try to figure out how to pay $1,800 a month. They're trying to rebuild that credit. They haven't had credit, right? They probably burned through their credit because they were using credit cards to buy drugs or alcohol. So they don't have any of that. The things that you and I maybe were taken care of. We paid the rent on time. We paid the mortgage on time. We paid our credit cards. So all those things, they destroyed. They don't have any of that. So, okay, they're in an Oxford home. Well, what does that look like? Or a clean and sober living home. I don't want to just call out Oxford because there's many different models there, right? That's just one. It's like Kleenex and tissue, right? So maybe you're paying $800 a month and most of those things are, your toiletries and things are included in that. That's still a lot of money when you think about it. But now I have to get used to waking up every day and getting on a bus and going to work and being responsible and listening to a boss and not popping off at the mouth and working in a fast-paced environment, probably working a real crappy job, being yelled at, dealing with customers. And we know we're all the customers, right? So we're pissed off. We're in a rush. We've got an attitude. We're being nasty to the same person that's got a crap life that they're trying to rebuild. And so they're dealing with the crap and they've got to swallow it all. And so they're taking it from us. They're taking it from the boss. It's a crap job. And all the while, they're trying to maintain their sobriety. And 4 months in, it's like, why the hell am I doing this? It's just so much easier for me to just go sit in a chair and smoke a bowl. Why the hell am I doing this? See, because I can smoke a bowl and all of this goes away. What was the point? Time doesn't even exist anymore. Those are facts. I'll figure it out. And it really doesn't make sense when you think about it. And we have to be fair-minded, right? To a lot of people, especially in different countries, we look like the fools. When we look at New Yorkers, when we look at people in Beverly Hills, we're like, why the hell would you pay $3,500 a month for a 500 square foot apartment? Are you insane? We look at them like that. But there are people that look at us and say, why would you pay $1,700 a month, $1,800 a month for this 700 square foot duplex that was built in 1940? Like, what are you doing? Right? There are people that look at us and say that. Why are you paying $2,000 a month, $2,100 a month, and you don't even have a parking spot? You don't have a dishwasher. What are you doing? There are people that look at us. What do they say? You shouldn't spend more than 20 or 30% of your income on your rent? There are people that are spending 60 and 70% of their income on rent. There are people that are doing that. And they're looking at us like, what are you doing? So are they so foolish to look at us and say, why would I do that? That's foolish. That's stupid. So I'm not going to do that. Yeah, it sucks. This isn't a great alternative, but I'm not going to do that because this looks like slavery. I'm literally being forced to pay this rent to live here. All I'm doing is working to live here. I can't really do what I want to do. I don't have the skills or the education, and I don't know the people that you know to work the job that you work. You knew somebody, you went to school, you have a higher IQ, you have the aptitude. Some people actually, worked hard, right? Math came good to you. There's a lot of people that actually worked really hard. I don't want to take it from them. I'm one of those people, right? I have a master's degree in education. I work damn hard for it. But I don't have the boat, and I don't have the other house, and I don't have the. So all I can do is go to work at this crappy job and come home, and I can't really eat anything nice and cool, so I got to eat some crap that you tell me that I shouldn't eat, that it's killing me. But I mean, that's what's advertised to me, and that's what I've been engineered to eat, because the lobbyists and the lawmakers that you have voted for, right? Because you guys are the ones in power and you're the ones that vote, have elected these people, right? Because we have to talk about that. And I know I'm off into the weeds a little bit. But you've engineered these foods to trigger my pleasure center. So now I like the McDonald's and I like the Doritos and I like these sugary sodas. So now I eat these things from a child because my parents have been socialized to give me these things. So I grow up and I crave and I want these things. So very few of the population break away from that. So America has an obesity problem. America has a nutrition problem. It's not just a few. So now I'm supposed to fight against this. These things are cheaper. So I eat these things and I pay this crazy rent and I chase the things that I'm told to chase. And I was having this conversation with one of the pastors Friday before last about the targeted marketing of the Black community. And how things are aimed at us, rappers and hustlers and ballers and everything else, but we don't know who our inventors are today. And we don't seem to care about even our contemporary inventors. You know, who invented the super soaker? Well, it's a Black person, but most people don't know that. Super soaker's not that old. Nor do we care, right? But we have to talk about these things. And it all goes together, right? So it makes it really difficult when you put that together. So look at it from the other perspective. It looks foolish to do that. That's why some people were doing van life. Why should I pay all this rent when I can just live in a van? I have all these amenities. I've got a little stove in there. Hey, you go camping, right? Well-to-do people rent an RV, go camping. They buy RVs for $130,000, the price that you used to be able to buy a home for. And they go camping. They live in it for a week or a week and a half, or they go cross country for a month and they live in the camper. So why don't I just do that all the time? You know what? It would be cheaper. And people got the idea. It's like, well, why don't I just do that instead of paying rent? This is crazy. No one say, oh, no, you're skirting the system. Can't do that. That's got to be illegal. We can't have you have the RVs out here.
Motion detected at the front door.
Alexa, volume 1. But it's okay for well-to-do folks to find every tax credit and tax break possible. So we have to acknowledge that. And so when they do come back, how are we going to ensure that they're successful enough that we're going to reduce the triggers so that they do not, or they have one less reason to lose their sobriety, to lose their recovery. It's not going to be for a lack of instability from housing or not being able to maintain it. Patrick says, everyone on the streets who are struggling with drugs and they all decide to get clean at the same time, there will not be anywhere for them to go. I believe the system degrades them to a degree because they know they won't be able to find them all help, and it's cheaper to treat them like crap on the sidewalks. I remember a correction officer telling me he loved us coming back because if we didn't, it would be a pension on his job security. So I believe they make roadblocks so they get their pay dividends. I think there is some corruption involved. Whew, that's dark. Sorry to sound like that, but it's a hard situation. I remember paying $1,200 for a studio at the Milano Apartments on Burwell, and I went to take the trash out on my first day, and there was someone on the staircase with foil. I couldn't even bring my family around. The overprice some of these places. Food prices are insane right now. Just like them selling cigarettes and alcohol and it's killing people. They should make cigarettes illegal. They add tons of addictive chemicals and it's hard to kick the habit. I know tons of people smoking and are dying, but they can't quit. Yeah, right? Our country will say, hey, you know what? It's America. It's your choice. You can do what you want to do, right? We sell it and it's up to you to buy it. And then they kind of choose what they decide to regulate or not regulate, right? But then you go to other countries and they'll sell Doritos, but they don't sell them with all those chemicals in them. They'll sell cereal, but they won't sell them with all those chemicals in it. It's like, it's amazing how our country will literally poison its citizens. We think paper straws will fix global warming as a joke. Patrick says, right, they will make so many restrictions on RVs, but the rent prices are insane. Yeah. He also says, I was lucky to get into an awesome sober house. I feel sorry because I know there is not enough room for everyone. Yeah, facts. Facts. Brent says, yes, great idea for documenting the process. We may even get more from the patients themselves. That 28 days just isn't enough. I really appreciate that you were able to read my rant, and I really appreciate that you will continue conversation because it will continue to grow. The answers will come. I know how hard it is to keep continuing to do the same thing over and over again. So I'm very thankful that you continue to bring this information up and give us a board to work off of. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I have loved ones that are in addiction. I don't personally do transportation now. I haven't given a ride to someone in probably more than a year. I do miss it, and I probably should get back into it. So, I leave that up to my staff. I get to sit in the boring meetings now. They're not all boring, and I've got to do the advocacy work. What I get to do is I get to do the panels. I get to get on the street and feed folks. I get to do that. So I'm a hybrid, right? So I don't get to drive, but I get to get out in the street. I get to, turn the ladle and do that stuff. So it's one of the joys of having your own company. You kind of get to do what you want to do. So there's no strings on me. That's what I like about having my own stuff. But we do have to keep the conversation going. You do make enemies though when you do your own thing and you speak out. And it is quite dangerous, right? Because you do have to do something, right? There is a fine line, and unfortunately, you're going to piss off both sides, right? So while 4 are unhoused, and I am for those that are suffering with addiction and alcoholism, I am also against our dealers. I am against not doing anything. And so that also can put me against the people that I stand shoulder to shoulder with doing the work, right? So I'm kind of in this middle line. And so I can find myself in this weird place. And so sometimes I'm about prevention, and sometimes I'm about consequences. And so it can kind of seem schizophrenic. And it's like, man, you on our side or not? It's like, yeah, I'm on your side, but some things I don't agree with. Sometimes I might change my mind on something. And I can be brought to one side or another, but I can also change my mind on stuff. So I'm not so closed-minded where I'm just like, oh, hell no. But some things I am, right? It's tough. This isn't easy, but we have to do something. We tried just, hey, let people do whatever they want to do. That didn't work. And I really think that this country did a disservice by just saying, hey, guys, just do what you want to do. It's what Patrick was saying about cigarettes. You knew what was in these cigarettes, and you decided to say, hey, cigarette companies, go ahead. Let everyone just go ahead and smoke the cigarettes if they want to do it. It's the same with these vapes. Everyone is just vaping, and it's like, vape all you want. We know about popcorn lung, and vaping hasn't been around long enough for us to know the negative effects, all of them, right? But we know what popcorn lung is. We got a name for it. And in some instances, vaping is worse than cigarettes. So we know, but we still allow it. We know what this food does. We know that these food manufacturers are literally hooking diodes up to brain cells and watching for that chemical, for your brain cells to fire off to get that perfect salt, sugar, and fat, just that perfect spot. And then boom, that's where we stop. That's insidious. Like, you don't have a chance. Oh, Lay's, no one can eat just one. Well, hell no, you can't just eat with just one, right? They chemically designed it for you not to just eat with just one. So that's hellified willpower, or you just never need to have ever tasted it. And then you may be wired specifically to be predisposed to have an addiction towards something. Like, wow. And we're just going to do it? No. Why would you do that to your citizens? A country should love its people. A country should love its people. And the people that serve the country should love its people. It should govern as such. I govern as if I love the people. And you don't seem to see that. You don't seem to see that. Patrick says, yes, higher-ups don't like us going over their heads and speaking on real issues. No. He also says, I smoke cigarettes and I hate it. I'm trying to quit every day. I know the harm. When I was locked up for 3 years, I didn't crave one cigarette. It's so stupid. I started this bad habit back up. It's very hard to quit. Yeah. And so it's like, but you can't. So what do? I wanted to get into this. Let me open up a sheet here. And let's go over another option, something in the middle. And I'm going to say some stuff that's probably pretty controversial. But hell, why not? Why not? Because, man, if we're not going to, how are we going to solve anything? We're not going to solve anything by not being controversial, right? We're not. Everyone wants to kumbaya. Everyone wants to be all nice and, you know, hey, you know, I don't want to offend you. I want to just be all nice and, you know, it's just got to be all. You know what? We can disagree and we can be respectful. We have to be respectful. But we're going to have to say some stuff, right? We're going to have to brainstorm and it's going to have to be tough, right? We're not going to get through any other way. We're just not. We're not. What is happening isn't working. All right, so let's go ahead and start working on this. How to fix the drug issue in Kitsap County. Here's my list. Hey, I appreciate you clicking on. I appreciate you being a subscriber. Like I said, you might not always agree with me. I might say some things that rub you the wrong way. I might say some things that rub you the right way. But it's all in love, and it's all trying to be in the right place. Like I said, you know, I've got a daughter here. I want this place to be better for all of us. And we can change this, right? Here's what I say we need to do. We done the first thing. We went far left. Well, we went far right during the crack wars, right? We arrested people. We gave them lifetime sentences. The black community has never recovered from that. We went far left with meth, right? Because quite frankly, that started off as a white person's crime, right? Now, the misnomer is many in the black community, especially those in the middle class and the upper class, don't think it affects the black community. But I can tell you, I know a whole bunch of black people that are meth addicts, a whole bunch, and fentanyl addicts. I know a lot, okay? So I know better. I just wish that some of my black contemporaries also knew better, because they still think that it's a white drug and it's not. Sorry. Now, maybe percentage-wise, more white people may do meth, but it is not a white person drug. So you need to get that out of your head. Stupid. Arrest and charge low-level and mid-level dealers. Okay? Escalate RICO charges and treason with sentences up to life in prison for those who traffic drugs from outside the country, including shipping companies, law enforcement, border agents, etc., legally and illegal immigrants, individuals, and their families. Okay, so let me break that down, because I said a lot here in number one. I'm just making this a little bit bigger so people can see it better, right? There's several parts in this, and maybe I should break this up. Okay, arrest low-level and mid-level dealers. You have to look at it like this. You have the drugs that come in, they got to get here first and foremost. And we'll deal with that. That's the second part. But they move around here in this ecosystem, right? 7-Eleven down on Park Avenue is a big one. ML King, big one, right? You see it. You got to arrest those drug dealers. If you dry that spot out and you arrest those drug dealers, it's really hard for the unhoused to get access to drugs, because many of those the unhoused are not very mobile. They are preying on the most vulnerable. It's disgusting. During COVID, when the tents were set up and COVID was going on and folks couldn't move, you had drug dealers that were in the tents. You had drug dealers that were showing up. You could tell them. You could tell them apart. You could see how they dressed. You could see how they looked. And the unhoused, they would get their checks on the first, and they would come and they would prey on the unhoused. It was insidious. So you got to get rid of the low-level and mid-level dealers first. And you hear often, well, you know what? Patrick says, I saw drug dealers come to my mom's house every first of the month, knowing she had several heart attacks. It's sad. He didn't care. No, hell no, he didn't care. She had money, right? Someone asked me the other day about fentanyl. And it was like, well, why would you sell fentanyl to your customer when you know fentanyl will kill your customer? And so I had to explain the whole chocolate chip cookie thing and, you know, how fentanyl works, right? People think that, you know, just because you use fentanyl, you're going to die. And it's like, no, you know, each batch of fentanyl, you don't know how much, you know, fentanyl is actually in each pill and all that other stuff, right? So they don't really understand that. And the fact that it's so addictive, right, that it really doesn't matter, you know, there's going to be another addict. So, hey, it doesn't matter if you die, there's another addict. So I'm just going to sell to someone else. They don't care, right? They just don't care. So you have to address the low-level dealers. You have to arrest the mid-level dealers. But kind of the thought is, well, we'll let the low-level dealers get us to the mid-level dealers, and then we'll get those guys and we'll have them try to snitch on the bigger ones, and we'll try to get the big fish. But the problem is the ecosystem is allowed to thrive. And while the ecosystem is thriving, right, people are dying. The addiction is just happening and happening and happening. Because nothing is stopping. So you got to get rid of these low-level dealers. Now, see, part of the game is, you know, these low-level dealers, you know, they're oftentimes users. And so the game is, well, I'm a user. And so what I do is I'm using, and I might be getting high on my own supply, and I'm just selling enough so that I can keep using myself, right? But this isn't self-harm. You're harming others to keep your own habit going, which is why you have to arrest the low-level user. Patrick says, true. Brett says, drug dealers do not discriminate at all. There's no creed, religion, belief system, race, county, or country, even age. They no longer even regulate each other. Yeah, well, that's pretty cool. I didn't think I could do that. They no longer even regulate each other, using judgment instead of discernment. It's conversations like this and actions of your company, New Day, UFSI.org, and these companies and individuals that are here blessing us to make a difference. Patrick says, and the dealers just use the money and pay for a good attorney. They should not allow them to get a good attorney. Well, the only thing I disagree there, Patrick, is, you know, in this country, you are afforded, you know, representation, right? We want to keep the system intact. Now, you can argue, should you get a public pretender? That's a different story. But, you know, I would actually argue no one should get a public pretender. But that's a different argument. But you got to get rid of the low-level dealers. They should not allow them to get a good attorney. And it can't just be, I just get high off my own supply. And I just use it to support my own habit. They got to go. Because it's going to dry it up. And what that's going to force is it's going to move the chain down. The big wigs are going to have to become the mid-level dealers, and the mid-level dealers are now going to have to become the street dealers, right? They're going to have to take more risk if they're going to want to make the money. Everyone's going to have to take more risk, right? Which is going to be easier to catch them. So then step 2 is to escalate RICO charges to that next level. So those mid-level dealers, yeah, you take their stuff. So you do it to the rappers. You did it to the mob, which is where RICO came from, right? Which is taking all their assets. You take their cars, you freeze their bank accounts, you charge all their family members, right? You charge the wife, you charge the girlfriend, you charge the uncle, you charge the auntie. You don't let the women off, because that's often what happens, right? You see it in the movies and things like that. And we know, because we've seen it, especially for you guys in the life, right? For you gang bangers or ex-gang members, or you female gang members or drug dealers, right? That kept the drugs in the diaper bag or in the baby powder, in the formula, that kept the gun in the diaper bag, right? Let's keep it 100. You got to take them too, but we don't want to take the women, right? Because they got the kid. But what are we doing? When we spare the women, which the women are the first teacher, we're just perpetuating. Oftentimes, she's dressing the son to look just like dad. We have to be real here, and we have to be honest. She's not ignorant. She knows what's going on. And being desperate is not an excuse to be in the life. Because to me, desperate means working at Burger King. But is that desperate or is it noble? Desperate means being a greeter at Walmart. But is that desperate or is it noble? Desperate means working as an Amazon driver. But is that desperate or is it noble? Because I love when I get a package at 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. I love when I can go to McDonald's right before 1 a.m. and get my fries. I love when I can go to Jack in the Box at the let out, even though I don't go to clubs now, and it's 2:30 in the morning, and get my extreme sausage sandwich. Don't judge me. Someone's got to do that job. And quite frankly, many of you drug dealers are terrible. You don't know how to re-up. You don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. You can't keep a phone on. You don't have a car. What kind of drug dealers are you? I digress. But you cannot let women off the hook. Because what does she do? She's holding him down while he's in jail for 6 months or 9 months. She's putting money on his books, and as soon as he gets out, he picks up the bag again and picks up where he left off. She likes the life. She might even continue to sell while he's in jail, right? He might even have a part-time job, and while he's at work and people are coming to the door, she's making the sale for him. Let's call it what it is. You need to arrest everybody. You trying to break generational curses, but you're keeping the children with mothers and fathers of drug dealers and gang members. You're not breaking generational curses that way. And when you say, well, you didn't have another choice, that's a lie. Because there's too many people working at fast food restaurants all over this country. How many are there? Hundreds of thousands of fast food restaurants, Chipotle's. Hell, we've got a Chick-fil-A getting ready to open up. And many of these places are paying anywhere between $15 and $20 an hour. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse. But you don't want to go to work. You want the fast money. It's exciting. It's fun. I ain't working at nobody's Burger King. I ain't working at no one's McDonald's. Then go to jail. Because you're going to DoorDash it, right? You don't mind if someone else works there. You want to eat there. You want to treat someone like crap when you go and you order something from there. So again, number 2, escalate the RICO charges and or treason charges up to life in prison, especially for those that traffic drugs outside of the country. So anyone who is shipping drugs from outside of the country, so this is what we're talking about, treason and life in prison. If you're bringing it from outside, if you're law enforcement, because you're at a different level now. If you are law enforcement, if you're a border agent, if you are legally here or if you are illegally here, you and your families, you're done. Life in prison. RICO. All of them. And you know what that prevents? It prevents people from being complicit. It prevents people from saying, you know what? You ain't doing that here. I will report you myself. It ain't worth it. It's not worth the risk. We need to make it so dangerous, so risky, that only the craziest people would ever try it. So if a border agent wants to put his family's life on the line like that, so be it. If a law enforcement officer wants to put his life and his family's life on the line, so be it. But when you swear, you take that kind of oath, you're at a higher level. Patrick says, yeah, but they don't care about the lives they give drugs to. Patrick says, I know what you mean, though. Brett says, catch, clean, educate, and give purpose to the low level so they level up. Yes, absolutely. And that's part of it, right? So you do give them the education. And that's a difference. And we talk about jail or prison. That needs to be revamped, right? Because that was supposed to be, you go to jail, you go to prison, you do your time, and you learn. You come out a changed person. But you should come out prepared, ready to be a contributing member of society. And just like coming out of treatment, you should come out ready to be successful. Not coming out being a better criminal, because oftentimes that's what happens. And not coming out worse than when you came in, and not prepared to be successful. There's too many programs. There's too many opportunities. And we're in the digital age. And folks are getting degrees in jail and prison, right? There's too many opportunities for people not to come out and not to have skills and be in a situation where they're good to go. They're solid. They could be doing well and thriving if we invested and leaned into it. Do we want people to have a high rate of recidivism, or do we want people to come out and be productive members of society, get back with their families, do well, thrive, start businesses, give back, start businesses, hire others? We want people to be well. Patrick says she's putting money on his books, LOL. Heck yeah. All right, let's get into the next one. The biggest issue is confronting the system that is complicit in willfully allowing individuals to be preyed upon. So this is a big one here. The system is broken. This only works because the system designs for it to work. We know the drugs are coming in. We know where they're coming in from. We know that they come in through Canada. We know they come in through Mexico. We know that they come in through by way of China separately. We know that they're coming in through law enforcement. We know that they're coming in through border agents. We know that people through shipping companies. We know people are turning a blind eye. We know that these investigations, we see these huge busts. We hear about them. Oh, we've had some pretty big busts in the last few years in Seattle. We watch the news and we hear, oh, they've been watching this group for the last 8 months or the last 4 months, and they've got all the drugs and the weapons on the table, right? We had a couple in Kitsap here in the last year or so. We were watching these guys and doing all this stuff and tracking them and doing all this. But then you hear about, oh, this one got arrested and was out the same day. This one got arrested and is back out in 6 months. How? This one got arrested and is back out on the street. Let's see again. Part of the continuum of care. So you hear the names. You get to know who these players are. So what's he doing back out? He's back at it again, huh? But he got arrested. So who did he tell on? Oh, he's back over here. He's back over there. Oh, they let him back in, huh? They let her back in, huh? Okay. I guess they're just getting more evidence for the next one, huh? Or they'll say, oh, they don't care about me. I'm the little fish. So they know that they're the little fish. They ain't looking for me. They cool with me. They looking for bigger fish. But again, you're the little fish, but the little fish has given the name of all of you in the trap. So they know all your names. I can type all your names in the chat. I could type all your traps in the chat and your addresses. Would you like me to do that? I got about 10 traps, addresses I could type right now. And names. Maybe I'll wait. I've got 4 more to do. But I guess they're the small fries, but they're collecting a dossier. So maybe you're small now, but if you have any designs of getting any bigger, and maybe you don't, maybe you think you're going to stay small, but maybe a year from now you don't realize it, but you end up getting bigger, or maybe they decide, well, they're going to just go ahead and take you in now anyway. Or maybe something pops off and 2 people get into an argument and the cops show up and, well, they're just going to go ahead and take you. I mean, they already got you on the list anyway. They already know your name. They already got a picture of you. But you're the small fish. You don't think they care. It's just so weird. But again, the system is complicit. They know. They allow these drugs to flow. These investigations take a while. They have a catch and release system. And then because, well, they have their programs, their diversion programs, right? And I do like drug court. I do like drug court. I am a proponent of drug court. Unfortunately, any system can be gamed. And some people are very wily. And if they know what to do, they know what to say, they go through the system, they get in, they get through, they do. It is what it is. And it's unfortunate. But the system also needs to be overhauled. And for those that are making the system complicit, they need to be removed. And the system needs to be tightened up. And if you're going to offer a deal, the deals can't be as sweet as they have been. You don't get off anymore. You're going to go. Because you probably killed somebody. Somebody OD'd. Several people OD'd. Is it attempted murder? I don't know. All right. We need to dry up the lines from low and mid-level dealers and any of their employers, their families, their friends, and their acquaintances. We need to highly publicize arrests. We need to use RICO, treason, and other laws against state and country against everyone with knowledge. Seize all assets, pensions, and retirement. And again, no deals for snitching upwards. Oh man, you lost your brother Carlos to an OD in October? Wow, man, I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences. Was he here, Patrick? Was he here in Kitsap County? Hey, Joanna. See what I mean? This is real. This has real consequences. This is real harm. He lived in Seattle. I appreciate you, Joanna. Thank you for all you do. We have to dry up the lines for the low and mid-level dealers. This is what it's all about. You lost a friend, Monique, this month to OD, and she was from Bremerton. I mean, that's a lot of loss. I'm just giving a moment of silence there, because we don't have to hurry. It is taking lives every day. And every day we do nothing is another life. We have to do something. And the thing is, it may swing the pendulum too far to the right. What I'm proposing may be too much. And if it is, we pull back a little. But we need to do something, because this isn't working and people are dying daily. Patrick has had 2 in the span of less than a year that are close to him. So what will it take? Does it have to be you? And typically, that's what happens, right? Is someone or enough someones with the power to make change is when it happens to them. Politicians suffer a loss. And now they want to see change. And now they're ready for action. Now we can change it. But until then, we're not doing anything. We can't. There's no money for it. There's no political will. So for those that are watching, when you say you don't know anyone who's died, here's Patrick, who you see on the conduit all the time, who you see in city council all the time, who's had 2 losses, a brother 1, in less than a year. So we do nothing. His brother, his friend, has no justice. Right. Absolutely. And so at this point, you may not agree with my assessment and what I think should be done at this point. And I don't know what his brother and his friend's situation was. But if they had arrested the dealer, and that was a thing that was in place, then that dealer could not have sold the drugs to his brother and his friend. And I don't know the situation of the scenario. But if they were selling, then maybe they would have been in jail. Maybe they would have been in jail because they were using and would have been in a situation where they could have gotten clean. And if our system was working the way that it should have, and what Brett was saying, there was training and resources and support, and on the other side, if necessary, they go there into a treatment facility, and from there into clean and sober living with resources and training in a stable environment to where they could thrive. And they would still be here. But benign neglect and doing nothing is not the answer. Patrick says, I'll agree with it. I think harder situations could save their lives. I'd rather my brother get locked up so he could still be here and his dealer get arrested. I am positive I'll agree with what you're going to say. You're very educated. I'm just tired of the death, Patrick. I'm tired of the suffering, needless suffering. I'm tired of homelessness. I'm tired of addiction. I'm tired of people acting like we can't do anything about it, that we don't have resources, that there's no political will. We've done both things. Crack, extreme. Do whatever you want, extreme. Now it's time to do something else. And we still haven't figured that out yet. But for these mid-level dealers, again, the employers, the friends, the families, the acquaintances, all of them need to go down. This is what you do to the mob. This is what you do to rappers. You need to highly publicize these arrests. You need to use RICO and every law. We have every law that we need on our books. We just don't use them, right? Again, that Joe Biden was a perfect example, right? He had the cocaine charges, but he got pardoned. He's not doing any time. We have all the laws on the books that we ever need. We just don't enforce them, and we do not enforce them equally. Seize all their assets, seize their pensions, seize their retirement. No deals for snitching upwards. Basically, in short order, what will happen is people will realize that it's just too high a cost. It's too high. It's not going to be worth it for them to do. You've got to make the risk too high. If you do that, people will find something else to do. Now, we need treatment facilities available. The length of treatment time, I believe, needs to be extended. Now, Brent was ahead of me. Now, of course, this was already created before I did the podcast, right? This was actually created last year. And I can't remember if I did a podcast on this when I was running for mayor, but this document is over a year old. So these are things that I wanted to do had I won. Resources on the other side of treatment. Example, employment, education, housing, transportation, and continued support. So Brett, you and I, these are the things that, G2 turned 8 years old in February, on Super Bowl Sunday, actually. And these are the things that we've seen in 8 years of doing prevention work and doing work in substance abuse work. We teach classes to adults and to youth. We do a lot, actually. Now this one, the greatest services are those which are implemented with less restrictive parameters and are not stifled by often too stringent policies and protocols. This one, because again, this was a year ago, I've had to move on. And it was said a little bit earlier. I think it does have to become a little bit more restrictive. And again, it's because, just what Brett was saying, right? Someone now has their home and it gets turned into a trap house. Folks want people to be safe. Folks want to help their friends. Even if they're no longer doing drugs. And I've seen it. They're not actually doing drugs. But their friends are. But they want their friends to be safe. They don't want their friends to be arrested. So they'll let their friends come in and do drugs. They'll turn their spot into a drug house, a trap house for their friends. I don't want you to be out in the street. I don't want you sleeping in your car. I was there. I was you. So here, you come in here and you do the drugs. You ain't going to be out there. I'm not going to let that be you. Because in their mind, they're like, look, It's harm reduction. And that model does work. You guys got to give me a quick second here. All right, sorry about that. I had to take a break there. All right. Patrick says implementing harder restrictions is the only way at this point. Yes, yes. You know, sometimes, and I'm struggling with this one. Sometimes you can be too restrictive, and uh-oh. I got to shut down some of this stuff. Oh no. I got too many windows open. Hold on a second here, y'all. Oh, shoot. Sometimes you could be too restrictive. I got too many windows open here, so I gotta shut this down. My this thing says pause. No, let's resume. All right. My computer, my Mac is saying I got too many windows open. I literally, if I show you my computer right now, it is insane. I knew I should have did that before I did this. I am really tripping for that one. Hopefully we're still going. Looks like I'm frozen here. Oh boy. Shoot. Uh-oh. Ah, shoot. I need to close this. Let me see where I'm at. Is it still catching me? Still there? Let's see. Let's see where I'm at. Is it still catching me? Oh, it is catching me. Did I just say that?
Let's see.
Oh, it is still catching me. Okay. All right. Looks like I'm still here, but I got to close some windows here real quick.
Are you frozen?
I am frozen, but I can't even see myself. Oh, it is. All right, I'm still here. All right, hold on, guys.
Let's see.
Oh, it's still catching me. Okay. All right, looks like I'm still here, but I got to close some windows here real quick. I am frozen, but I can't even see myself. I have probably about 40 tabs open. I'm tripping today. It's my bad. This is my bad. Let me go ahead and force quit. And just am I muted? Okay, I'm here. All right, y'all. Sorry about that. I am having to restart my main computer. I had way too much going on over there. Too many windows open. So I got too much going on. If you guys hear that, downtown is going crazy with our fire department. Shout out to them doing what they got to do. All right, perfect. Yeah, I got to restart this computer over here. This is doing way too much. All right, I'm going to shut that down. All right, so we're going to pick up where we left off here, and then we'll get back into it over there as soon as that reboots. Sorry about that. So I am notorious for having way too many windows open, but I got a lot of stuff going on. I think I had the most windows open than I've ever had before, which is like super crazy and funny all at the same time. Oh man, it's freaking crazy. Now, let me hard reboot this computer. Ooh, that thing is hot too, boy. Come on, just there you go. Let me see. That's not the document I'm looking at. File open. All right, so I'll catch up to the chat here in just a second. Just looking for this document here over on this computer. It's a good thing I had other computers, but I definitely should have closed those windows. But I needed all those windows. You know what I'm saying? I was still working. I got 1,000 things that I'm working on. I got grant reports due. I'm working on some grants. I got a lot of stuff going on. It's pretty funny, but we'll get back to it in just a second. Let me get in here. No, matter of fact, let me just read these chats real quick. My bad, y'all.
So Patrick says they need not put resources in place, just to not do what they are supposed to do. I was just in the reentry unit at Shelton Prison. That was supposed to get people right for the streets, but every day people were freaking out on Spice. Oh, and the corrections would just laugh and let them right back a day later just to keep doing what they're doing. These laws get made, but the drug dealers still find a way to win. We need officers and staff to stay to the script and not get soft. Man, what is Spice? Patrick, let us know what that is. The guys getting high were running the unit, and us who were doing good were not getting the resources we needed because the staff spent all their time with these guys who were just acting up. Wow. Wow. The guys getting high were running the unit. We got to make a balance so the guys who are being a major problem get longer punishments, and the ones who want to do it right get more resources. The guys acting up will figure it out eventually. It's like grounding a kid. If you ground them for a week, then let them out the next hour, they will learn their lesson? No. Yep, absolutely. You're absolutely right. You got to make a balance so the guys who are being a major problem. And a lot of times, those folks are so charismatic, right? They're so charismatic. The guards like them. Oftentimes, everybody likes those folks. They're so charismatic. All right, here we go. I'm back over here. All right, I'm gonna drop off over here. There we go. Now I'm back. I'm back, baby. Yeah, I must have had too many windows open, boy. Your background is off. Just wanted you to know. I had to put my laptop on, restart my main computer, and then it reboot. I think I had 50 tabs open in one Chrome. It was bad. It was bad. It was real bad. I get told to stop doing that, and yeah, all I could do is smile because I knew better, and I started it anyway. Stubbornness, I am stubborn, but I really did need all that stuff, so I really did. Whoops. I don't want to do that. Yeah, thank you. All right. Yeah, so the curse is, I've got my office, but G2 Prime, which is home, I'm a workaholic. And because of that, I really never have a stop time. So I'm constantly going, and so I just take small breaks is all I do. And I just get up from the computer and I take a break, or take Layla somewhere, or do what I have to do. Clean my laptop lens. My lens is dirty. Okay, I'll clean the lens. Really, you didn't know G2 until just now? Wow, that's crazy. I didn't make it so you couldn't comment. You should be able to comment. That's weird. Hold on. Oh, my background noise is I gotta turn it down. Okay. Where's my original document at? That's weird, Patrick. How did you not know that I didn't know that? Hey, Rock, can you do me a favor and clean my lens? I'm being told my lens is dirty. Thanks, man. I'm gonna just turn my camera off real quick, guys. Because my lens is dirty. Turn that off so you don't have to see that while that's happening. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. All right. Whoa. Well, that now it done disappeared. All right. Oh, there we go. Cool. Thank you, man.
They think it's clean. Is it cool?
I guess it is. All right. So we're gonna get back into this in just a second. I just gotta find my other document that somehow did not load. And we'll jump back in. Let me just do this. Boom. Pull this over here. Do it like I had it before. There's so many things to do when you do it. I had the executive director of KCR on the show yesterday, and his director of communications. And so they got to see the setup and me furiously working behind the scenes because I don't speak Spanish. I'm trying to listen to the cues. So it's like, super crazy trying to follow the cues when you don't speak, it's a foreign language. So it's a little nerve wracking trying to get it all in. And then when folks are talking really fast, it's you're trying to follow what little Spanish words you know. And it's like, ooh, man, no, I missed that one. Missed that word. And then they had to kind of switch to English for you. And it's like, yep, sorry, I missed it. So it's funny. Like it's an epic fail. All right, but where we left off, I was on the other side of the fence for so long, but now I'm 4 years sober. Okay. And I'm learning about the resources now. I won't ever relapse. I learned my lesson. So let me ask you this, Patrick. What do you do for those that, either are wherever they find themselves in recovery or aren't in recovery yet? What do you do when you have triggers? Like if this isn't too personal for you, you suffer two big losses in your life, your brother and your friend. How did you not lose your sobriety or lose your recovery during those times? Because that's enough to send anyone back into using. If you feel comfortable enough to share, how did you fight that? And I love when people share those stories because I find that always helps other people that are looking for tools to put in their tool belt, because it's going to be different things for different people. What they do. And sometimes they have to do multiple things, right, to get them through. And people have different resources. Some people have people that they can lean on. Some people have church or religious outlets. Some people have pets. Some people like the beach and water. Some people have volunteerism. They just have different things. Some people have hobbies. They surf, or they have projects that they get into. So there's so many different things that people do. Some people do all of the above. Some people are workaholics like me. So there's so many. Some people do so many different things. Someone's texting me and telling me I'm not speaking quite right in the language. Never ever say never in recovery. Okay. So remember, my language isn't going to be perfect, right? I've never been in addiction, or so my verbiage is not going to be correct. So you'll have to forgive me on that. But it is helpful to hear. So Patrick says, I'm a house manager where I'm at. I lost my mom while I was in prison, and I promised her I would not go back to that life. I also put God first now. I listen to Christian rap, and I write Christian rap music now. Okay. All right. I love it. I love it. It says Moral Cameron has limited. Where are you reading that? Is that on YouTube? AT? Or Facebook? And so, as a house manager, that seems like that could also be triggering, Patrick, because you've got how many people are in your house? Let me ask you that first. 4. Okay. And so I'm assuming that they find themselves in different states of challenges in their sobriety or their recovery. So, you know, how do you deal with that? Because you're working on your own recovery. You've got 4 years, and you've got your promise, and the things that you do. You're managing their recovery and the things that they're going through and the things they come to you with, and then you're dealing with whatever triggers you're going through, and then the life events that you're experiencing. Like, that's a lot. And I also find, Patrick, another question that I have for you is, when I was teaching at OC, I was a professional technical advisor before I started teaching. And when I started teaching, I continued throughout my teaching career as a professional technical advisor. And a lot of folks that were in recovery always wanted to give back, and they wanted to go into chemical dependency with Dr. Morel Cohen. Shout out to Dr. Cohen. And it was so interesting, but also concerning to me, because it's like, okay, you're newly in recovery and you want to give back to folks that are just coming in and wanting to, or not even in recovery, right? You want to talk to them, you want to tell them about how powerful recovery is, and you want to help them get there, but you're new in it yourself, and that could be very overwhelming. You thrusting yourself back into that life when you're so new into it. And it's like, man, is that the best path? And so as an advisor, it's like, okay, talk to the professional technical advisor in that discipline, but just consider everything. It's just like, that's a scary proposition. But you say, we had many come and go who relapsed. We got 2 people who have a lot of sobriety also. I just want to be an example. I like it. 4 years of sobriety is a good amount of time. I'm over the hard part. What's the hard part? I know I'm asking you a lot. If it's too much, just say, I got to stop there. But I think it is really helpful. I appreciate you sharing as much as you have. And let me see if I can go in here and find out how to change these settings so people can comment. I've never seen that before, actually. Quality. If you can't comment, well, I guess you can't comment. I don't know how you could contact me unless you have my phone number. Edit post, edit live, turn off notifications, turn off translations. If you can't comment on Facebook, you might have to go to my YouTube on the conduit and post there. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to post on Facebook. That's weird. Yeah, I don't know. Filters, manage post. Okay, let's see. No, I'm sorry. I'll have to look after the show is over, but yeah, I don't see what's going on there. It's kind of weird. All right. Oh no, you're posting, Patrick. I'm talking to someone who's sending me a text message and saying that they can't post. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Shout out to you. It took 6 months of psychosis to go away. Wow. Okay. Wow. Hey, I appreciate that. And while I'm talking here, if you have any other ones that's hitting you, I'm YouTube not. Okay. If you want to type in any other things and anyone else that is, in recovery, if you have any tips that you want to type in for other folks that are in recovery or thinking about recovery or sobriety, and find themselves anywhere along the journey in what you've done during the hard times or getting over the hard part, that they can put in their tool belt, I greatly appreciate it. And I know that they will appreciate it as well. And so where we left off with before my computer got over too much memory, the greatest services are those which are implemented with less restricted parameters. And so this was what I felt a year ago, when I was running for mayor. Now I feel like this needs to be more parameters. Okay. So like I said, I do believe in change. Crack era, too rigid. We've swung the pendulum to too loose. Let everyone just do whatever drugs they want. We see where we find ourselves now, and we are not in a position in this country where we're willing to help people to the level that they need the help, and we need to do something, and we're not doing enough. And benign neglect is not working, and people are dying. And so now we need more restricted parameters that are not stifled, that need to be more stringent and need to be more stringent. With policies and protocols. And again, I believe this needs to be for a while. We just need to get a hold of this. It's really learning how to stay out of our own way and take suggestions from others, because what I thought obviously didn't work. Yeah, that's a big one. It's really interesting how a lot of times I can't take my own advice, but man, do I give damn good advice. I can give the greatest advice, but man, if I could take my own advice, I'd be 250 and looking great. But I can't take my own advice, but I can give some good ones. So I just need to stay out of my own way and take suggestions from other people, right? That could be marriage counseling. It could be a whole host of different things that we just need to learn how to lean into, because we think we've got it all figured out. We could be very stubborn, and we just need to submit to something else. something positive, and we know what it is. We really do know what's good and what's bad, and we'll make every excuse in the world to say what's good for us just ain't gonna work, and it just doesn't fit for whatever reason, and we'll buck against it, and we'll make every excuse in the world on why that just ain't gonna work for us, and why it's too restrictive, and why this and why that, and all this, that, and the other. Patrick says they got to find a lot of literature like self-help books and find the information that relates to them. I got a ton of self-help books, religious and non-religious types. Read stories on those who did before them and watch podcasts on recovery to get educated on recovery. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yep. Keep them coming. All right. So we were on number 6 here. So there's a few things that we also see that are huge issues here. And like I said, unfortunately, I get it both ways, right? Some people tell me there's too many facilities and we don't need any here. And then I hear people say, yeah, of course we need more facilities here. I believe that there are a lack of facilities here, right? And I will tell you, you have cynical people that say, hey, you know what, these nonprofits, they're all about, they don't want to find themselves out of business. Put me out of business, right? The cool thing about me is I don't just serve in the recovery world, right? We take people to cancer appointments. We take people to dialysis. We take people to work. We take people to the airport. Anyone can call us. We're like an Uber or a taxi. We take people to mental health appointments. We take people to doctor's appointments. We take people to see their kids. We pick up kids. We do group events. We have 15 passenger vans. We have wheelchair vans. So we don't just operate in the world of recovery. That is just one sector and one contract that we operate in. So yeah, put me out of business there. But to me, it is unfortunate if we have to take someone to Spokane or to Yakima or to Ellensburg or to Bellingham. If we could just take them to Bremerton or to Silverdale, if there was a medical detox here, that would be great. If the systems were all digitally linked, we have ChatGPT, we have Claude, we have all of this AI. Why don't these systems talk together in real time and have these beds open, right? Where we would know instantaneously where this bed was open. Yes, there still is going to be some shuffling because you don't know when someone is going to tap out. And, some people have priority. I believe law enforcement has, priority over, some of the agencies. So, whoever calls first. So maybe there was a bed open and then all of a sudden, that bed is gone. Chris says, I feel that we need to have multiple options of centers in every area to fulfill the needs of others. Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's better to have too many than not enough. We have the money. We have an aging population. We have folks that don't have things to do. We have training opportunities. We've got an aging population. We have an addiction problem that is out of control nationwide. Not just Kitsap County, not just Western Washington, nationwide. We could be a model, right? We could be solution oriented, which means that we could have dollars driven here if we are the solution, if we are the model. Yeah, send your people here. We'll build it. They will come. We will bill you. We'll do it. We will be the answer that no one else can answer to the question that no one seems to have the answer to, that no one wants to lean into, because we have to, and we're not afraid, and because we believe in people. And we do need a lot of different options. And not just medical detox. You see what was happening at St. Michael's a few years ago when they were seeing people in the ambulances. We have a crumbling infrastructure. Our bridges. We should have fiber optic cable. We should have high-speed rail. There's no reason for Americans not to be thriving in this country on multiple sectors. And this is just one, healthcare. And this is just one sector, one category of healthcare that we can be thriving in. That is critical. That's necessary. So yes, we should lean into this. Patrick says, I used G2 many times. I got my first driver's license now, so I don't need it. That's another thing. I'm 37 and never had my license. Now I got a nice car, licensed and insured. I'm just done with the drugs. I learned that they were not getting me anywhere. I'm glad you used G2. And in Kitsap County, it's hard to get around without a car. It is difficult. Our public transit does not work in a way that is conducive for folks, especially folks that are trying to rebuild their lives and working in, what do they call those jobs? Fast food, things like that, right? Jobs that you're working at that buses aren't running after, that you're going to be in a cab or an Uber, something that's going to cost 2 or 3 or 4 times the amount that we charge for a ride. You may not have that friend or family member that's going to be able to give you a ride home. You may not have a driver's license. And the person that's going to be able to give you that ride may be in that world, may be in that life. And you've got to stay away from that person. Patrick says, my mom's husband was from Cuba. He got kicked out of the country. Unfortunately, he was a drug dealer. He had everything taken from him before he changed. But then he started gambling and would do anything to go to the casino. He had a really hard life. I want everyone still struggling to know it's possible to stay sober. Yeah. It is hard. I know there was a saying for folks in jail. It's like, and I don't know if how much you believe it. Maybe when you're in jail, you believe it, but then you get out and things change. But it's like your worst day free is better than your best day in jail. And it's like when you're in jail or in prison, it's like when I get out of here, I ain't never going back. But then when you're out for a while, it's like all things, you just get used to being out. And it just doesn't hit the same anymore. And you start taking it for granted. What would I do if I could just be out? I don't give a damn. I will get on the bus. I will walk. I don't care. I will work at Burger King. I don't want to spend another day in here. I will work at McDonald's. I will shovel shit. I don't care what I got to do. I don't want to be in here. If they'll let me out right now, I don't even care. I will walk from Bremerton to Silverdale. How did you bargain when you were in? What did you say when you were in? What you would do? You didn't care. I just want to be out. Get me out of this. I will do anything. And you meant that at the time. You meant that. You meant that with 100%. Hand to the man. And then you're out for a while. You get comfortable. Then you can't get on the bus no more. Man, I ain't getting on no bus. Man, I ain't walking nowhere. Man, you crazy. I ain't doing that. Man, I ain't doing that. What you talking about? Man, you crazy. I'm not doing that. I ain't working there. No. You're like, really? Did you forget yourself 6 months ago when you were ready to do anything? You forgot that guy. You forgot that woman. You gotta hold on to that mindset. Because that was the fighter. It's hard. It's hard to keep that going. That's actually how I got through school. I had to keep that mindset. That was tough. School is tough. Because I don't have it anymore. Because I really would like to do my PhD, but I don't think I got it. I can't get it up like that anymore. It's too much now. But we have a lack of care facilities. We have a lack of services that may preempt substance use and recovery. Right? You know, I did a panel, was it last month in June? And I believe, shout out to the county and their prevention work. I think they said $1 of prevention saves $18 on the other side. $1 of prevention saves $18 on the other side. That's a lot of money. $1 of prevention saves $18 on the other side. So it seems tough because what everyone is saying is, hey, you go to medical detox, you go to treatment, and on the other side, after 28 days, you need to be able to put someone in a place where they can get stabilized, not go back into the same environment, live, be able to find a job in a clean and sober living, and be able to work and pay their bills and thrive. And that's expensive, right? Because you're talking about $800 and plus a little bit more month after month with all these people. That adds up. Millions of dollars every month, right? But you do have to invest heavily on the prevention for substance use because it's so impactful that you don't want people to start in the first place. The funnel is huge of people every day starting. We want to prevent it. And we don't want people, there's so many gateways. Vaping to cigarettes, to marijuana, to meth, to fentanyl. There's so many on-ramps. So many different ways on that you can't put all the money in one pot. You can't put it all at the end. It's too late at the end. Yes, it's important at the end. And we have to put money there. But you got to put a bunch of money in prevention as well. And you got to put a bunch of money in the middle because we need the medical detox. You have to invest. It's going to cost. It's going to hurt. But it's going to hurt even more if you do nothing. And we're spending the money anyway. And people are dying. You are going to pay. We're already paying. We're already paying. Our hospitals, they're using them for primary care. We're paying. That's expensive as hell. We're already paying. Our fire department are showing up in $2 million fire trucks. They are our EMTs. We're already paying. So when you say, I don't want to pay anymore, you don't have a choice. But we can get smart with the money. We can build more facilities. We can put money into prevention, and we can make sure that people are stabilized. They spend more time in treatment, and they have stable places to go. and they're stabilized on the back end longer. Well, now they're not going to emergency rooms for primary care. And if they're arrested, we're changing jails and prisons where they're not just wasting their time just sitting there rotting, but they're actually learning. Patrick says, it took me 5 times to figure it out. I am mad it took so long. I think we need to focus on youth so they don't make our mistakes. I preached to my nephew now who is struggling with drugs, telling him I don't want him to go through what I did. I tell him to use me as an example of what not to do. You know what's so hard about that is we glorify it, right? I see so many folks that, especially with marijuana, right? A lot of our leaders too. You know, they're smoking. Hey, it's what I do. Not a problem. It's all good. And they're looking up to them. Hey, you do it. It's all good. Unc, that's what Unc does. Ain't no problem. Unc is successful. But it doesn't mean that you're going to be successful. And you might not know Unc's story. But 2, Unc tells you the glorified story. Unc went to jail a bunch of times and had all this stuff go wrong for him. And he got bailed out because, well, you know, he got lucky because he had the church and he had, you know, Bishop Robinson, and he had this one and he had this one to help him out. You don't have that. You might not be so lucky. And who said you deserve that anyway? And should you have the right to destroy lives? Because you want to get the bag? It's a problem. It's a big problem. So family and friends are a big part of that. They're going to emulate and look up to that. First says incarceration equals idle time. And when we get released, we lose the idle time, which makes us really easy to get distracted and forget what we were saying while incarcerated. Primary focus has to be on changing people's places and things in order for us to think, feel, and act differently. Yeah. Absolutely. We have to change how our jails and prisons operate. Patrick says prevention is very important. I agree. He also says my brother that lives in Brazil now and is an ex-Marine told me as soon as I get out, he told me, Patrick, bro, you did your time and this is a new start. I want you to know you did your time, that he knows I can do good. That really helped me out a lot to hear it from him. Yeah, you need encouragement. You need that support, not to get beat down. Chris says, I also feel like insurance companies should extend the 28-day inpatient coverage. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier before you jumped on, Chris. Like 28 days just is not enough. It's not enough. To me, it almost needs to be 2 or 3 times that. You know, folks come back. One, I don't think it's enough time to, you know, find the resources to put in place, especially like the housing, to find work, to find the other resources that folks need. I mean, there's so many things to put in place. ID, driver's license. You know, when I was teaching at the college, they had a program that they don't have anymore. And what it was connected through DSHS. And it was a 0 credit class. And the students would be with us Monday through Thursday from 9 to 3 p.m. And there were 4 instructors and there were 4 classes. And I taught communications in the computer course. And then there were 2 other classes. I can't remember what they were now. So there were 4 instructors, but I taught 2 of the 4 classes out of those classes. And so what they did was they were with us, and it was a soft launch. And so it was a way for them to be acclimated into becoming college students, right? So they were learning about what it took to be a college student, because you don't quite remember what your high school experience was like. So many of these folks had kids. Maybe they were incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, non-traditional students like me. I only went to only finished the ninth grade. Um, Whatever their situation was, it allowed them time to get their financial aid set up or get reinstated with their financial aid, figure out their transportation, figure out their child care, just work out any sort of their multiple issues that they had going on for that entire quarter, right? And learn how to be a college student. Okay, if you are taking 15 credits, you multiply that by 2. That's what you should be looking at for studying outside of class. 15 times 2 is 30. Full-time student, it's a full-time job. You should average about 30 hours outside of class for studying. That's 45 hours a week. That's what makes you a full-time student. So you should assume you're going to be working about 45 hours a week, depending on your class load and what type of student you are, you know, what it's going to look like for you. When's your best time to study? Day, night, when you first wake up, blah, blah, blah. What's your sweet spot? What subjects are you good at? What are you going to have to read over and over again? Are you going to have to use a study lab? Where are your resources? All of those things, right? So that's, to me, is the same thing as going to an inpatient, facility, right? 28 days is not enough time to put all those things in place so that when you come out, and you might have been in the street, you might have been living in a trap, a combination. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be put back together so that you are in a stable situation, so you have the best chance to have a positive launch. So if you had 56 days or 78 days or 93 days, you come out and you had 3 months, man, or you had 180 days, whoo, man, could you imagine? You got a driver's license and a job lined up, your school is all set for you. You're staying in the dorms or whatever the case may be. You've applied for jobs. You got your resume all set. Man, that could be a whole different thing. You've already done your interviews at your living facilities. You're going straight into one. All those things are all worked out. You got your ID, you got your birth certificate, you got your SNAP benefits are in place, you got your medical done. How amazing would that be? And I know some of that stuff probably gets done, but think of all of the things that you could establish if you had more time. That would be amazing. Patrick says, exactly. I was a bad example. Amanda says, there are a few facilities that go longer than 28 days. Patrick says, it used to be 90 days at ABHS in Chehalis, but they didn't do a good job for aftercare. Yeah. So lack of services that may preempt substance use and recovery due to lack of access to basic needs, affordable housing, healthcare, etc. C, transportation as frequent, reduced time and accessible to places and times. Many are required to use public transit, paratransit, or other forms of time-consuming modes that aren't available during hours or a myriad of locations in a day. This results in unnecessary hardships, i.e., this is a list: missed employment opportunities, decreased productivity, travel fatigue, diminished self-care time, personal and professional development, decreased relationship building and restoration, etc. Now, while I know this seems self advertising, it's not. This is, I've always been a big proponent of transportation equity. even while I was at the college and wasn't running a nonprofit. This is one of the biggest issues that I saw running the program that I was just talking about. We had students that were driving on a dirty license, students that couldn't put gas in the car on a regular basis, students that were driving in a bucket, in a hoopty, whatever you want to call it, depending on how old you were, right? So the car was constantly breaking down, so it was never reliable. So it's like, oh, Mr. C, I missed class because my car couldn't make it. Oh, Mr. C, I couldn't make it to class because I only had $2. So I only had enough to get home from school or home from work because I couldn't make it to school. Oh, Mr. C, um, my friend or my roommate, they brought me home from work, but they wouldn't bring me to school. Oh, Mr. C, in order for me to get a ride, I had to ride around with my roommate, and it was going to be like 4 hours, and I just wasn't going to deal with it today. I mean, so many different reasons on what it was going to take if it was a vehicle, right? I got pulled over. I got another driving without a license. Oh, I didn't have insurance, right? If it wasn't that, well, I'm on the bus. I missed the bus. Well, I've got a UA. I've got childcare. I've got a doctor's appointment. I got IOP. I've got class, and I'm trying to go to work. I got too much going on. There's no possible way I can do all that. I can't afford an Uber. I can't do that on the bus. I'm coming from Port Orchard. I'm walking to the bus stop. I'm waiting for the bus. I'm getting on the bus. I'm taking it down to the ferry. I'm getting on the ferry. I'm doing my 10-minute crossing. I'm getting on the bus. Right? I'm catching the bus. I might do it a transfer. I'm transferring. And then I'm walking to my appointment. Then I'm going wherever I'm going. And then I got to go somewhere else. That's people's situation every day. Well, how much are you actually getting done in a day? But your city council is telling you, oh, that's what you should do and you should like it. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Because developers need to build more property, affordable housing, market rate, but it doesn't pencil out for them to build parking spots for you. But you can bulk shop on the bus because you can't carry all those groceries. Right? So you're not shopping at Costco, not on the bus. You're not shopping at Walmart, not on the bus, because you can't carry all that crap. So you're supposed to shop every day with your SNAP benefits, right? Okay. Well, who has time for that? Yeah, exactly, right? Especially a bus coming once an hour. So it's like, man, how Pollyanny is that? Oh, do. I just walked to the corner store and I've got my little spinach hanging out and my little ciabatta bread sticking out, and I'm just making my dinner for tonight. That's all I bought today. It's just so cute because I'm just, it's so ridiculous. It's like, man, life is just so great for you. And never on Sunday, right? It's like, that's not life. That doesn't work for people. Oh, and I got my kid with me. Oh, I got a diaper bag and I got the stroller, and then you want me to have the groceries, and I got my school bag because I'm trying to go to school. But you want me to do all of this? And I got group. Oh, but I forgot my paperwork and I needed to stop at DSHS. Well, shit, I didn't get that done. Now I can't get another appointment for 3 weeks, and I missed my doctor's appointment. So now they're telling me, well, it's either $75 because I missed my appointment, but now I can't make an appointment. So now it's DSHS. So now I just got to come in there and just sit there as a freaking walk-in. But when the hell am I supposed to do that? Because I don't have time for that. See, you don't understand the plight of the poor at all. And most of us are poor because, well, it's Bremerton. We're the poorest city of them all. But you don't get it. But I'm trying to do all of this and be in recovery and sobriety. So this isn't a plug for G2. This is just the reality of transportation equity and how this puts a strain on recovery. But see, if no one speaks to you in this way, then you don't understand how difficult it is to get all these other things done. And now, when am I supposed to have quality time with my child or my children or my significant other or myself? When am I supposed to watch the videos or read the book or have self-care or meditate or sleep? Because your body heals when it's sleep. When am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to write a paper on the bus? I'm trying to focus, but it's so distracting. I mean, that's pretty difficult. Oh, you tell me if I want it bad enough, I'll make it happen. Okay. But I got to pay the rent, which is a crazy amount. If I'm renting a room, which is $800, which, believe it or not, is really hard for me to earn because I probably can't work full time because I'm probably in a program. I'm not going to be able to buy a car. I don't even know if I have a license. Might be suspended. I might have LFOs. Oh, man. I probably have child support if I'm a man. But, nowadays, a lot of women have child support, too, because, I didn't have my kids. And as soon as I get some money, they immediately start taking it. And I'm supposed to do all of this and maintain my sobriety and my recovery and not be triggered. Gotcha. So understand, I'm saying that we have to do something different, and it needs to be more stringent. And that's why I'm saying up here at the very top, yeah, we've got to arrest the low-level drug dealers and the mid-level drug dealers because it's so damn hard for those that are trying. It's so hard for those that are trying. You have to arrest the low-level drug dealers. You got to get them out of the way. And for those that are higher, you got to hit them with RICO charges. And you got to hit them with treason. Especially if they're law enforcement. Especially if they're border agents. These are crimes against our country. And they sit in a special place in our society. We have to confront a system that is willing and willfully allowing these individuals to prey upon the most vulnerable. And until we dry up these lines from the low-level and mid-level dealers, and we start impacting their employers, their family, their friends and acquaintances that know that this is going on, and publicize these arrests, and we use RICO and treason, we use the laws that are on the books, we seize their assets, their pensions, their retirements, no deals, no snitching upwards and giving deals for this, and making the cost and the risk too high for people to engage in this behavior, we're not going to see this stuff change. We need more treatment facilities. We need resources on the other side of treatment, employment, housing, education. We're paying for it one way or another. It's costing us too much for folks to use the hospital and emergency room as primary care physicians. $2 million calls for our fire trucks. we can cut those down significantly. We need to increase our length of treatment time. This will cut down the cost significantly. We are going to pay one way or another. It's how we use our money. We can invest it smartly. We invest in prevention. Transportation, continued support. How do we do it? Well, this is how they do it. This is how they do it. Send a user they trust to map dealers and traps throughout the region. Ensure they believe they are one of them. Track buyers, users. Who controls the traps? Traders and networks. Track other illegal activities. Document buys, pricings, pictures, and locations. See, this is what's been happening the whole time. This is what the police do, right? There's cameras everywhere. There's also drones. If you haven't noticed, there are drones. The Bremerton PD has drones. They flying down. You'll see them. So they see who's down at the Safeway on Callow. They see who walks together on Callow, on ML King, and the surrounding area. They watch. And what they do is, again, they tend to let these folks live because they're looking for these folks. And they let these people just mill around for a long time. Patrick says, another thing that works for me is calling trigger spots. I see dealers before they see me and those still using before they see me. Then I mentally prepare myself to talk to them in a positive manner and not to judge them, but tell them they too can get sober. And I tell the dealers I don't mess around anymore. Yeah. But like I was saying a couple hours ago, right? You have the bust that took place a little while ago, right? This is what they do, right? They just kind of follow all the deals for a while. They follow them to the houses. They follow them around, and they track and track and track. Sometimes they'll snatch them up, catch and release, catch and release, catch and release. No one typically knows, and even if they do, typically they're so greedy for the sale, they just keep dealing with the people they snatch up. And then they'll finally go ahead and maybe arrest this mid-level dealer and take him off the street. But then what you'll see is, and what we saw, is that mid-level dealer ends up back on the street. And you're like, well, how the hell did that happen? Because they're looking for someone even bigger. But in the meantime, as Patrick shared, then there's the loss of life of his family member and a friend. No, they're not dumb, and they do let a lot go on. And at some point, to me, maybe you just have to just keep arresting and keep arresting and keep arresting until it's like, you know what, man, it just ain't worth it, man. I'm not about to pick up a bag and start selling it. Just not going to do it. We have to do something else. Doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity, correct? Exactly. If you can see a drug dealer from a mile away, I know the police can too. When the tents were up on ML King and we were feeding out there, you can see him. It's like we would be sitting out there with the police. It's like, and they say, we know. Okay, well, we have to see the buy. Really? Okay. So why don't you just set up a sting and it's insanity, right? So they know. And eventually they'll take a low level off the street. And it's like, well, what happened to that person? It's gone all of a sudden. And you find out what happened. So like I said, I told you an hour ago, I was going to put the names and the addresses of the traps and the folks in them in the chat. Because that might actually make some change, right? Do you think it would? These folks have to be arrested for a significant amount of time. Once someone dies from the bag, from the car, they just walked away. They blame the user. Exactly. And then what they say is, well, someone else would have just sold it to him. So that, I mean, if I don't sell it to him, someone else is going to sell it to him. That's what they say. Well, you know what? Then someone else is going to sell it. But you got to go. And 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 eventually, enough people are going to go to where the next person will be like, you know what? I ain't doing that. Because everybody else, they went. And they still there. And I ain't doing it. And then the block ain't hot no more, right? It's really hard to get it. And like I said, now the mid-levels have to come down because they don't have the low levels to come and sell it, right? And it's easy to scoop them up because it's like, well, who the hell is this? We ain't never seen this dude before. We ain't never seen this girl before. It's easy to scoop them up. Whoop, whoop. Gotta go. We have to do something different. We have to do something different. Now, do I recommend you do this? No. I don't recommend vigilanteism. Extremely dangerous. However, if you do, because you're sick of it, here's what I recommend you do. You must have a dead man switch if things go bad. Digital offload, preferably to another state, all your information. Never speak about it or share about that contact. Wherever that information is going, don't talk about who that contact is. The information that I have goes somewhere else, and nobody knows who that is. Make sure you use a separate computer and that it's air gapped. Have a computer that no one has access to, and it is air gapped. It is not on my system. And so even if they got a hold of it, it wouldn't matter anyway because that system is updated. As soon as I get information, it is updated and it is sent out there. And if things go bad, there. Like I said, this was created a year ago. Folks wanted me to run for mayor, and they wanted me to, well, quite frankly, they wanted me to answer a lot of the problems that faced the city. And I wasn't going to run for mayor. I had run for city council and I lost by 52 votes. And I had, the reason why I believe that I lost was I had tore my meniscus and I couldn't door knock. It was one of the main reasons. And I was so glad that I did. And I was in District 4 and Jane Rebelowski won. And at the time, I was happy she won. And it was good. And so when it came time for mayor last year, I had no intention on running for mayor. And then all of a sudden, man, people from all walks of life started contacting me in every way you could think possible. They're showing up to my house, people that have never come to my house before. I mean, never come to my house. Through Messenger, calling me on the phone. Please run for mayor. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, nah, I had no intention on doing that. And it was past the time to do it. And so at that point, all I could do is do it as a write-in and run during the primary part. I was like, all right, I'll pray on it, but it is so late in the game, the likelihood of getting to the primary is going to be slim to none. So I did, and I didn't make it to the primary. I think I ended up getting, what was it, 13 or 18% of the vote, which was pretty impressive for someone who didn't want money. I just wanted to vote, and so I didn't go in the campaign to raise money, and they put a crap ton of money in. I think they both ended up raising over 100,000 or something like that. It was something sick. It was crazy for Bremerton. And I didn't make it to the primary, but Jeff, who was the person that ran against Wheeler, needed all of my votes to unseat Wheeler. And unfortunately, he was not willing to do the things that my constituents wanted. Not enough of them. Now, he didn't need to do everything, but he needed to do enough of them in order for my people to vote for him. And at 13 or 18%, he needed all of it in order for him to undo Wheeler. And because he wasn't, my folks weren't going to back him. And so that's why he lost. And so, at the end of it, we ended up deciding to vote. And so that's why we got Wheeler again and not Coughlin. And, it's unfortunate. He unfriended me on Facebook, and which kind of spoke volumes, right? It was like, wait a minute, we were friends before on Facebook and it was all good. And I appreciate that. We were friends before, and now you want to friend me and this and that. It's like, well, it kind of shows what you were about. So it's all good. But wow. But this was one of the things that people really wanted to address. This was an issue, homelessness, addiction, substance use, and the issues, right? And I've got, I live right next door to Olympic College. It's all around me. It's a problem. I live right in it. So I'm not one of these folks that live in the rich area. I am right in the thick of it. Right now, I say in the thick of it, I can't be any closer to it. So it is what it is. And, I do want to see change. I do want everyone to have a better life. And I think everyone is capable of having a better life. I want it for every single person that lives here. Even the dealers. I want it for everybody. I don't want anyone to have to deal. Everyone can have a better life. And they shouldn't have to deal. But if you're dealing, you're destroying lives. And I'm dead set against that. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's a problem here. And the other thing I don't like is, we need shelters. We need help for these folks that are suffering from addiction. And I think now we have to do something different. We're just allowing it to persist. This ain't working. This ain't working. And we have to take action. And I said I was going to say something controversial, and I do want to say it. No, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to lose you. It's super controversial, and it has nothing to do with this. So I'll save that for another time. I don't need to lose everybody on something so controversial, but I'll save that. And I'll save the list for another time. I know that's probably pretty interesting for me to list the addresses and the list of the people in the traps, but I'll save it for next time, and I'll put that out there. But be warned, people want this shit to end, people. So getting tired of it. They're getting tired of it. You got folks living in hell, and they're tired of it. Well, with all that said, what are your thoughts? Does this seem too harsh? Let me share this back. Like I said, there were, from the crack era, we had what it was in the beginning, where lifetime pretty much for, if you had rock cocaine, you were done. It didn't matter. I think that's too harsh. But then meth came along and it was like, oh, we're not going to do anything. The opiates came along and it was like, oh, we're not going to do anything. Let them just do whatever. Not a problem. And that didn't work either. And you see the problem that we have now. We have to do something. This isn't working. People are dying. People we know are losing loved ones in rapid succession. You watch Jocelyn come on to city council crying. Those aren't fake tears. Those aren't manufactured. There are people that she cares about, that she feeds multiple times per week, that she loves on, that are dying, needlessly dying. Is this too much? Patrick says drug dealers' addresses should be posted. Neighborhoods have a right to know who is around them. If the police know, they should inform the community. Huh. Interesting. So Patrick says I should post it. So is it just drug dealers, or should I post trap houses too? Maybe I should post them today. I told someone I was going to do a podcast in front of one tomorrow. Oh man, Seattle Times says the Blue Angel show is canceled tomorrow. That would be horrible. Trap houses too. Huh. All right. Well, I got some friends in the police department. I want to see it in. All right. I'll talk to the boys in blue when I get off the horn. See what they say. Anyone else believe that? What do you think? Should I post the trap houses, addresses, and the drug dealer addresses? Patrick said, heck yeah, post them. What do you think, Patrick? I've got 9 things up here. What do you think about these? Too harsh? Too easy? Good start. Try it. Tweak it as we go. You like it? Okay. All right. Patrick says he likes it. Anyone else want to weigh in on that? Seize all assets. All right. And then I think if you've got like a housing voucher, you should lose that. No more SNAP benefits. Just, all that stuff should be gone. I think that's reasonable. Document buys, pictures, and locations. Okay. Now, what do you think? What do you think? Is that too much, or is that I like it? Okay. I want to see it in. Seize all assets, etc. Document buys, pictures, and locations. Are you saying you agree with that? Some states are zero tolerance, and we need that. Okay. Yes, you agree. Okay. All right. All right. Well, we got one there. And like I said, I told Amanda I would give her credit for helping to create this document. And you can see this was created in 2025. You lived in Wisconsin for 4 years as a kid. Any cool house, etc. would be on the news. Yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly. All right. So we've got a vote of yes. Chris, if you're still on here, what do you think? And I appreciate you, Patrick. And hopefully people will take note of the things that Patrick has shared on here on what to use to get through. And we're right at 3 hours. I think that is perfect. With the craziness of my computer having too much memory. So I think with that, man, I'm gonna give you your Saturday back. All right. Well, man, as always, I'm R1 Cameron. This is the Conduit. You already know what to do. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And we'll see.